recordinglightmusic.io.
Good day everyone, my name is Tan Yvonne with metric number 253845. Today we are going to present our management scholar Frederick Taylor and Frank and Lillian Gilbert. So let's start with introduction of management scholar. Frederick Winslow Taylor was born in a wealthy family in suburban area in Philadelphia on March 20, 1856. He was an American mechanical engineer and known as father of scientific management. Frederick Taylor went to a prestigious Exeter Academy and after passing the entrance examination of Harvard, he forced to drop out from the law school because of vision difficulties. In the year 1875, he began his career as apprentice in Philadelphia pumping operation. He began to lead a machine shop at Midway Steel Company in the year 1881. Taylor started again as student at Stevens Institute of Technology, where he got his specialization in mechanical engineering in the year 1883. He served as the manager of the Philadelphia manufacturing sector between the year 1890s and 1893. Frederick Taylor got his engineering degree studying at night as he worked at well-known Pennsylvania Steel Company and Bethlehem Steel Company during the day, where he tried to use his method of work research in his workshop. Between 1898 and 1901, he formed a working team in which he proposed and improved the technique and complement his revolutionary idea and other innovation and published his most outstanding books, The Principles of Scientific Management, in 1911. Frank Banger Gilbert. He was born in 7 July in the year 1868. He was a pioneer in study of motion. Frank Gilbert graduated from Boston English High School in 1885 and gave up on college after passing an entry examination in Institute of Technology in Massachusetts. He began his career as apprentice as a bricklayer. He was the first to sort the one best way to complete his job as bricklayer. He began to own his own contracting company in the year 1895 with the intention of minimizing time loss and reducing costs. He invented numerous inventions that helped the company and developed concrete mixer that accelerate the concrete process, and the company was able to drastically reduce the time for completing projects steadily and finally become popular in the United States. In the year 1904, he married Lillian Evelyn Moeller. Lillian Evelyn Moeller was born on 24 May 1878. She was a psychologist and an engineer and the first female engineer to obtain a PhD and involved in industrial organizational psychology. Lillian received bachelor and master degree in literature from University of California and began her doctoral study in Brown University after she married her husband Frank Gilbert in the year 1915. She began to become more involved and after Frank worked in the workplace for productivity, both working together by apply social science into the industrial management. The Gilbert then developed time and motion study which focused in overall efficiency and published the motion study books and resulted in their task and study of scientific management. And later they published the fatigue study and applied motion study between the year 1916 and 1917. Besides that, they also applied scientific management strategy in their last household with 12 children. Two of their children then wrote an amusing book entitled Cheaper by the Dozen and Bell on their Toe. Now we move to history of scientific management. Before scientific management was introduced, Taylor observed that there are little interaction between workers and managers, and also there are no standardization in work. In conjunction to that situation, Taylor started to develop the concept of a fair day pay for a fair work, which indicates that a worker did not deserve to pay same amount as highly efficient workers if they do not reach certain productivity in a day. Besides that, Taylor also very interested in performance. He developed a workplace experiment to evaluate the optimum output standard. In his first experiment, Taylor tried to improve the shoveling efficiency of workers by redesigning the shape and size of the shovel so that it enabled workers to shovel it straight for several hours. In the second experiment, a worker was carefully chosen to carry a pig iron on a railroad car under the instruction of an engineer. Taylor used stopwatch and biochemical analysis to evaluate the progress of the workers. As a result, the efficiency of workers increased by 3 times. In the first experiment and the second experiment, Taylor started to develop 4 concepts of scientific management. Frank and Lillian Gilbert began to involve in their research on scientific management, collaborate with Frederick Taylor. Frank replaced stopwatch with movie camera and advocates the idea of orthodox scientific management. A new method called microanalysis was introduced by Frank and Lillian Gilbert, which consists the filming process of workers' activities and motion while tracking time. The filming process serves 2 objectives. The first objective is to record the work progress of workers, and the second objective is to develop a correct way to carry out work activities. In 1914, Frank and Lillian Gilbert break with Taylor and formed their own scientific management theory. They start to implement innovative ideas to improve workers' satisfaction that would further enhance overall job performance and the workers' productivity. Scientific management then continued to make major contributions throughout the rest of the 20th century to management theory. Quality assurance and quality control with statistical techniques used in scientific management commenced during the 1920s and 1930s. Operation management, operation science, and cybernetic management was developed during the 1940s and 1950s. In 1980s, total quality control was introduced in scientific management, and re-engineering was continued to develop in the years 1990s. Now we come to the definition of the scientific management theory. The first management theory advocated by Frederick Taylor was the scientific management theory, also known as Taylorism. This theory proposed that to achieve an economic productivity, it was the responsibility of managers in the workplace to develop correct production process. There are 4 concepts that are relevant to the scientific management theory. The first concept is the scientific-based selection process, which replaces the rules of thumb. In this concept, it stated that managers should break down a larger task into smaller pieces rather than assigning an entire project to a person with a correct time to complete it. The second concept is to recruit workers based on their expertise. Taylor argued that employees should be delegates to a particular job and duties instead of randomly assign them for a job and have preparation for them to work effectively. Managers are required to measure the most effective method to execute a given task. After that, only assign the subtask to workers who fulfill the task requirement based on their expertise. The third concept is to track the performance of workers and provide them with training and guidance when required them to work productively. In an organization, a manager should ensure that each of their workers below them to perform their job effectively. Meanwhile, a worker needs to retrain in their job, and manager should enforce a new technique if a more efficient technique is found. The last concept is to delegate tasks between manager and workers. In an organization, it consists different types of workers from manager to part-timer. Taylor believed that in similar level of hierarchy, employees will listen and carry out their tasks that have been assigned to them if exact duties and instruction have been provided by manager. In search of a more productive way to create manual tasks, Frank and Lillian Gilbert developed a classification of 18 movements, named it the tabliques. The tablique divided into 2 classes, which are the efficient workers and inefficient workers. From there, the workers only work out the required motion and then remove any unnecessary motion to maximize their performance.
Good day, Doctor and all my fellow friends. My name is Yapkawe. Metric number is 253706. Now I'm going to explain about the application of scientific management theory. In order to well illustrate this part, I will explain it based on three different stages. The first stage is about the application of scientific management theory, which only associated with Frederick Taylor's theory. However, the second stage is about the application of scientific management theory, which only associated with Frank and Lillian Gilbert's theory. And the last stage is the application of scientific management theory, which involve both Frederick Taylor's theory and Frank and Lillian Gilbert theory. Let's go through the first stage. First of all, I will explain about how Henry Ford used the theory in Ford Motor Company. At first, Henry Ford was faced with the problem of workers spend as much as 12 hours to complete the production of a single car. This caused the company to spend more time to produce more cars and involves high costs. Therefore, he applied Taylor's theory in the production process. In the first step, Henry Ford examined all the components that need to produce the car. He found that workers spend a lot of time on gathering all cars' components, no matter large components or small components from various places. Then he finally made the change on the production mode, which is larger components of the car should remain constant at the place, while the smaller components can be carried by the workers as required. It can be seen that improvement of production method has helped workers save time on gather all these car components. Moreover, Watertown Arsenal also used Taylor's theory to solve the management problems. It is an American arsenal. At first, Colonel Wheeler realized Watertown Arsenal was facing some of the issues that listed by Taylor. One of the big issues is the whole arsenal only led by a superintendent, which means he is the only person to lead and guide all 100 and above workers. In addition, he has to monitor all parts of the production in Watertown Arsenal. This will make the superintendent feel more harassed. Consequently, Coroner Wheeler decided and applied the system that suggested by Taylor to improve the management in Watertown Arsenal. Nevertheless, after a few years of utilizing this system, it was opposed by most of the workers in Watertown Arsenal, as they feel applying of this system make them work in a strained condition. At the end, Watertown Arsenal stopped using it. So now we move to the second stage. Frank applied his own theory in the medical field to overcome the problem of surgeons spending a long time on the surgery operation process. Frank found that surgeons usually spend most of the operating time looking for surgical instruments rather than doing an operation. Therefore, Frank suggested that surgeons should use doublings during surgical operation. So, according to that, nurses play an important role to help surgeons reduce the unnecessary movements. They are required to pass the needed surgical instrument to the surgeons during the operating process. Apart from that, Frank Gilbert also recommends the surgical instrument in all operating rooms should be arranged and positioned uniformly. It's because it helps surgeons and nurses to get familiar with the surgical environment. So, no matter which operating room they are in, they will clearly know the position of all surgical instruments. Furthermore, Lillian had solved the issue that happened in 20th century by using her own theory. It was Industrial Revolution and many workers stopped working in American middle-class families but choose to work in industry. So it brings trouble to middle-class families on getting the housework done. Lillian suggested parents should understand well of all family members and assign housework according to the family members' strengths and weaknesses. This is because when a task assigned to the family members are within their own ability, they can do it better in a short time. In this way, the members are willing to finish the housework. This is how Lillian used one right way to solve the problem. Lastly, I will explain about the last stage. One of the world famous companies using this theory is McDonald's. So, at first, McDonald's has standardized all the tasks in all branches. As a franchise company, McDonald's has the same input, production, and output in all branches. For example, the way of making McChicken is the same from the preparation of ingredients to the baking of burger. Apart from that, McDonald's provide training to all new staff on their first working day. It is to ensure all staff are expert and familiar with their job scope. Other than that, McDonald's had divided a task into various parts and each of the parts tend to be done by different staff. For instance, one staff is in charge of fried chicken slice, another staff is in charge of preparing drinks, and another staff is in charge of packaging and so on. So it can reduce the production time. In addition, McDonald's specialized in the design of kitchen layout. The kitchen layout allowed the staff to complete the task in a short time, such as a long steel table is placed between the fried chicken machine and cashier. So the cashier can easily to take the meals to the customer without working far.
Good day everyone, my name is Tan Chui and my metric number is 255051, and now I would like to present the contribution and benefits of scientific management theory. For this slide is talk about the contribution of Frederick Taylor in scientific management. The scientific management is proposed to improve economic efficiency, especially labor productivity, that how time and cost can be saved by eliminate of anything that does not add the value in the production. As you can see, scientific management contribute to three types of company. For the first one is the factory, such as Tottenham Steel that a company produce steel. The company use scientific management which pioneer the concept of systematic training, selection, and enable manager to collaborate with employees to achieve their steel production target efficiently. Secondly, scientific management contribute in franchise sectors such as fast food restaurant. The fast food restaurant use the scientific management concept to ensure the operation procedure is same and efficient to every branch. Like the operation manager makes sure every job that given to worker analyzed scientifically, such as in McDonald's have the burger crew, take order crew, wash plate crew, and cleaning crew that have their specific tasks to work their own job. And the operation manager also makes sure each worker will delegate tasks well and be trained before they start their work. There are also cooperation between manager and worker to scientifically ensure that daily operation is performed well, because when the manager work together with their worker, so manager can easily to give guidance to worker for complete the order on time. Scientific management contribute in current industries such as Federal Express use digital terrorism. The digital reason is an outdated version of the original concept of scientific management to standardize the routine of instrument and technique to maximize efficiency for the completion of each job. Each task is breakdown into the smaller movement and convert into the exact method for the task to be carried out. Like the delivery man deliver the parcel to the receiver by following the schedule and delivery process. The delivery process is the same for every delivery man, so the mistake can be predicted and the courier industry can try to avoid the mistake to reduce the time to deliver the parcel. So next is the benefit of Frederick Taylor scientific management. The first one is worker with enough skill and knowledge in production. By using this scientific management, the worker is being trained before entering their job. So means training can help employees more familiar with their job scope and perform well. And the second one is laser time on production. Because worker movement has been minimized as the unneeded motion is eliminated, so it helps company avoid unnecessary problems such as delay in the production. And the third one is decreased cost. When a worker spend laser time on the production, the total of employees needed in production become lesser. Thus, it can help to reduce the cost to hire laser employees. Okay, next in this slide is talk about the contribution of Frank and Lillian Gilbert theory. In their time and motion study, how increased operational efficiency that was the main outcome of their study. They study how to minimize the time and reduce the motion when do a task. The first one is their theory contribute in automobile industry. Like the Toyota company is setting out a Toyota production system, which is the time and motion study also involved in this system to reduce the variable waste such as the overproduction, unneeded motion and defects. And so Toyota company use machine to produce the automobile can minimize the time and reduce worker movement because worker only need to control the machine to create the automobiles. And the second one is the theory contribute to economic in interior design. Lillian has collaborated to refine the architecture of the appliance to eliminating loss of time and effort at home. Lillian created a work triangle that's got 6 kitchen design that show the figure at the right hand side. You can see the concept of work triangle is defined as efficient, artistic, and practical kitchen layout that carry out between the stove, the sink, and the refrigerator. Lillian created this work triangle that is to avoid unnecessary motion and improve job productivity in the kitchen. And Frank and Lillian theory nowadays also contribute to the interior designer because they use this work triangle to design the kitchen. In this slide is talk about the benefit of Frank and Lillian Gilbert theory. The first one is minimize the numbers of motion because by using the bridge they have 18 units that just now my friend had stated. This is to decide what action need to be taken and then avoid excessive action that to improve the performance in productivity. And the second one is focus on progressive analysis because Frank and Lillian Gilbert they are the engineers, so they research to reduce the time and motion that is to calculate the most efficient way to finish a given task. And the third one is increase efficiency, like is to increase the profit and the worker satisfaction because as a leader the primary responsibility it should be improving the efficiency to every employee. So this not only reduce the time and motion, it will also earn better revenue for the business as make the worker happier.
Hi, my name is Lim Jasin, metric number 253506. Today, I will explain about criticism of scientific management theory. The first criticism towards scientific management theory is exploitation of worker. Under scientific management theory, workers are required to follow the way to work with machine. Although it's a method that can raise productivity, it also results fatigue in workers as they are carrying out repeated jobs. Meanwhile, the rise of productivity does not result salary increment. Workers should deal with the pressure and perform the job duties as assigned. In fact, workers are not machines and they should not be treated as machines. Scientific management theory ignores the human factor that make people similar to machines. To solve worker exploitation issue, it suggests organizations allow negotiation in the company. In fact, workers are not machines and they should not be treated as machines. As we know, scientific management theory focuses on profit and productivity. However, we cannot only look on this factor. Organizations should pay attention to human factor. For example, salaries should be negotiated with each employee before the workers start working. Meanwhile, working hours also should be negotiated with each employee. When the negotiation is carried out, employer can note employee concern. Following that, manager can arrange job duties without excessive stress on worker. By carrying out this action, employee will satisfy with the treatment and willing to put more effort when working. The second criticism towards scientific management theory is reducing employee creativity and innovation. Scientific management theory emphasizes work standardization, whereas each employee is assigned to specific work accordingly. However, just standardization will limit employee creativity. Workers are not allowed to perform the work as they wish. Although worker is experienced in carrying out the task, they have difficulty to voice out their opinion. The distance created between manager and employee obstructs the exchange of ideas. Meanwhile, all rules are set by management. Based on that, workers' imagination will fix to certain boundaries. As a result, it prevents employees from thinking new ideas. Based on the issue, we recommend organizations to encourage employees in providing feedback. Through feedback, it allows exchange of information. Accepting feedback indicates employee working style is not set by rule. While providing feedback, it can help employees to boost their creativity as they are at the stage to think of new ideas. Based on this method, employees will think broadly and following that their creativity and innovation ability will be increased. Therefore, creativity and innovation issues among employees can be solved. The third criticism towards scientific management theory is low motivation among employees. Under scientific management theory, the manager will divide the task into smaller units and assign workers to work at specific tasks. In our opinion, workers will feel bored and fatigued when working on the same job. Following that, it can result high turnover and high absenteeism. This is because motivation that drives a worker to work consists of monetary and non-monetary. Scientific management satisfies workers in terms of monetary aspect but neglects of non-monetary aspect. Scientific management emphasizes scientifically controlled, bureaucratic and administrative work practice. It neglects of support, workplace socialization and employee benefit. In long term, it can create low motivation among employees. To solve low motivation issue, we suggest organization to conduct job rotation. There are many advantages of job rotation. For example, when workers engage in different job duties, they are engaging in learning new skills. Learning is an interesting and beneficial process that can raise employee motivation toward their job. Next, employees are experienced in different jobs and familiar in different departments in the company. Job rotation assists an employee in improving their skills and enable a worker to have goals. This goal tends to raise employee motivation in workplace. The fourth criticism towards scientific management is undemocratic organizational structure. Under scientific management theory, employees are required to follow management a set of instructions and guidance. There are several disadvantages of undemocratic organizational structure. The first point is time-consuming. Bureaucracy formed in between management and employee create communication barrier. It requires employees to spend more time for the decision made by the management. Secondly, employees are highly dependent towards manager. Under scientific management theory, employees are only required to perform their job duties. They are not required to take part in decision making. Workers are only work for wages. They are not required to give their idea and opinion that can make company become better. Following that, it can create huge stress on. Based on issues raised by autocratic organizational structure, we suggest organization to implement democratic organizational structure. Basically, democratic organizational structure have many advantages. Firstly, it encourages flexibility in the organization. Under democratic organizational structure, employees are allowed to involve in decision making. Through discussion among employee and manager, the decision can be obtained faster. Following that, it shortens the waiting period and enhances work efficiency. Next, democratic organizational structure encourages employees to voice out their opinion and idea. Based on that, employees were not dependent on leaders. They are willing to take initiative to improve the work and express opinion. Following that, employees will be more responsible and hardworking. Hence, there will not be huge pressure on leaders.
All in all, there was a strong conceptual difference between Taylorism and the Gilberts. Taylorism focuses on reducing processing time and motion and also advocates that money can motivate the workers. The Gilberts were the first one who broke with Taylor's and formed their own scientific management theories. They regarded their policies as to make overall process become more efficient and concerned about employees' welfare. In conclusion, it can be validly accused that scientific management theory had laid the foundation for these vast and strong views that we still practice today.